Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Catherine.
And I'm Haley.
And we are Saturdays Are for the Ghouls,
A podcast on the Podmoth Network.
We cover all things spooky, like horror movies, true crime, the supernatural, and spooky stories.
In the most chaotic way possible.
So join your favorite ghoul friends every Saturday wherever you listen to podcasts.
And become a spooky babe.
So spooky babes, we'll see you
in your nightmares.
Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
This is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder
and lists.
And we're brought to you by the Podmoth Podcasting Network. I almost fumbled that, but I got it back. If you guys hear hammering in the background, I apologize. My neighbor is like totally redoing her front and backyard.
Nice.
Which she just redid. I think she's just lonely, so she like hired me to come work at her house. And she's really sweet. She brought us a big bag of tomatoes over the summer. She's really cool, but she just lives there alone with her dog. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know where the money comes from, but she's doing it. So anyway, if you hear hammering, I apologize. We're Twisted Listers. We are doing, what are we doing?
Vampires Part 2. Vampires the sequel. Yeah, I'm very excited. Happy Halloween. I'm like, it's like a week away, so I'm both like delirious with Halloween spirit, and I'm also dreading like November a little bit.
Yeah. Although exactly 1 week from when this comes out is Monday, October 31st. So we have one coming out on
That's true.
Halloween.
So we have one more go. Yeah.
One more. Yep.
Yeah. And also Dia de los Muertos is very like strictly practiced in my house. So that's a couple extra days on the other end,
for sure.
Make some good Mexican food.
Yeah. But we're doing Vampires Part 2. And real quick, we just posted a new one on Patreon last week. If you'd like to join us there. Oh, do you want to say who it was?
Oh, yeah. No, I was just like, shoot, I got to put up images. I didn't realize.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it's up. It's
I will.
Rebecca Zahau. Crazy fucking tale. If you'd like to join us, it's patreon.com/twistedlisters. If you'd like to join us on TikTok, it's just at Twisted Listers. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can do that at
Twisted Listers PCast.
If you'd like to send us an email with case suggestions or just to say hi, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to check out our website, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod.com.
That's right. And thanks everybody who's been reviewing, because some people have been giving us less than lovely reviews because they think we're commies, and they're correct.
Yes. Whoops. Oh, you got us.
Yeah, found out. But yeah, our rating in Spotify is holding pretty strong, and we're getting more and more ratings, which I think just generally speaking is really great. So please like, rate, review. But anyway, we're going to do Vampires Part 2. Is there anything else to talk about?
I was going to add that if you listen to Vampires Part 1, which we did last Halloween, Real Life Vampires, you can find it around this time last year. But I wanted to note that we're doing all different ones, because sometimes we do redos of episodes that are down, but this is different because it's a sequel, so it's all new.
Yeah, it's not
all fresh.
It's all fresh and new for you. It's not a redo, because in the beginning we had our heads firmly inserted in our anuses as we podcasted, just to put it nicely. So we took down some of our earlier episodes,
and they were also 3 hours long. So.
Yeah, and we redid
that was the main issue.
Yeah, that was more it. We've always been awesome. Let's be real.
Come on.
But yeah, so these are all new cases, and this first one I have, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty quick. And it's kind of got 2 parts to it. So
that's okay. Mine is beefy. So
okay, awesome, perfect. All right. So I am doing the story of Caius Veiovis.
Okay.
Very interesting name. I'm just gonna jump right into the story. On September 10th, 2011, the dismembered bodies of 3 men were found in a shallow grave on private property in Beckett, Massachusetts. The 3 men were David Glasser, his roommate Edward Frampton, and their friend Robert Chadwell, who were all residents of Peru, Massachusetts. And I just want to say, I find it really weird how many like super white areas have cities named Peru. It's just very strange to me. I don't know why
that's
is.
true. And like Lima also, I think it's
yeah, it's very strange. Anyway, so all three of these bodies had been shot and then dismembered and then dumped at this location. So they don't believe they were killed where they were found. Pretty quickly, Adam Hall, a known Hells Angels member, was arrested for the murders, as were two of his accomplices, David Chalu and Caius Veiovis.
Okay.
These two were arrested after Hall was, not because he ratted, because he's not a fucking rat, but because witnesses in the area had placed the three together in the day prior to the murder, and police who were surveilling the Hells Angels were watching the three of them at a Hells Angels party that occurred the day before the murders. So they were found September 10th. They were murdered August 28th, and the party was on August 27th. So right away, the cops were like, this guy didn't kill three people by himself. We saw him with these two other dudes. We're going to bring him in. So David Glasser, let's talk about how these three victims knew their murderers, because they did. David Glasser was something of like a hanger-on in the Hells Angels community. He wasn't a biker, but he like was one of the people that tried to like hang out with them. And I think it's actually really funny because I've started watching Sons of Anarchy again. It's a big, long, convoluted story, but basically Rory bought a motorcycle, found out it was from the show, got really embarrassed and self-conscious. Not actually from the show, but it was like a model based on the show. I know.
Okay.
So I should have said that better. But he got really like self-conscious about it because he's like, I don't want people thinking I'm like a Sons of Anarchy fan. It's fucking cheesy. But then he's like, well, maybe I'll watch the show. Maybe it's not that bad. So he started watching it, and I've already watched it years ago, but I started watching it again. And so we're watching it like right now. And then I covered this, and I was like, oh, this is perfect.
I hate that show. Can I tell you? Like, I have a long relationship with that show because I was really into it. And then like a couple things happened where I was like, no, well, I'm done with you. I'm done with you, TV show. Like, I just turned it off.
The thing of it is, like, it's kind of accurate. Like, it shows these guys who are kind of the heroes of the story being pieces of shit because they're kind of pieces of shit.
I just felt like they just were doing shit just to upset, like, viewers, you know, just kind of in a Game of Thrones way, where it was like,
agreed.
What if we just did this insane thing? Like,
after the third season, it turns into trash, in my opinion. And we just finished the third season, so I'm kind of like, well, I'll watch it till Rory gets sick of it, but like, I'm not a fan. However, Charlie Hunnam, I would watch him like read a phone book. I don't give a fuck. Like, he can just sit there and I'll.
He's great.
Jesus Christ! And you know, they make sure you get to see his ass at least once a season. So I hopped in for a while just for that. He's naked a lot.
He's naked a lot. Yeah.
It's great. Anyway, I'm a perv.
Sons of Anarchy. Yeah.
No, moving on. So anyway, so I think it's just interesting that like I'm watching that again and then I do this and I'm kind of thinking about like the parallels between the show, because one of the guys that's on the show is a former Hells Angel, so he helped like keep it real, kind of realistic.
Okay, nice.
Anyway, so this guy is kind of one of those people, David here, that like hangs out with them, but he's not really a member, obviously. He's a little bit slow, they said, like that's how he was kind of described, and he had diabetes, so it would make his like speech slur, and he just wasn't like a super smart guy, but he was like a really sweet guy. He had a lot of friends. He was really earnest. He was a very honest man. He's kind of wanted to be a part of something, I think. So for some reason, he got in bad with Adam Hall. He was first accused of stealing a carburetor in 2009, which, as far as it has been reported, didn't actually happen. But at that time, Adam Hall beat him with a bat. So he beat David badly with a bat and forced him to sign his truck over to the Hells Angels.
Oh my gosh.
He robbed him of his truck and beat the shit out of him because he claimed he stole a carburetor, which probably didn't happen. So David ended up in the hospital. Oh, I hit my mic. Sorry. David ended up in the hospital as a result of this. And before he was dropped off there, Adam told him, like, if you tell the cops, I'll fucking kill you. David told the cops anyway, because he's like, fuck this. This dude's scary. I'm terrified. I want the police to help me. Right. So they convinced him, sort of against his better judgment, to turn state's witness against Adam and the other Hells Angels because he was privy to their gun running, their drug dealing, a lot of illegal shit that they were doing. So Adam Hall here caught wind of this and started harassing David. So he was, just threatening him, and he actually assaulted David when he found out. and got arrested and was in prison, but he got out 3 months later on a $50,000 bond. He continued stalking and harassing David, and at one point in 2010 attempted to frame him for a robbery in New York.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so that's another thing where I thought of a parallel with Sons of Anarchy. That's something they would do, where they would like try to like frame somebody for doing something and like plant a gun. Yeah. So they did this. They tried to plant a gun and like some sort of other thing, like money that was stolen. So David got arrested, but the cops really quickly like figured it out. They're like, oh, this dude's just trying to get him fucked, right? So they arrested Adam Hall again, and it took months for him to get out. And this time it was a $250,000 bond. So, you know, he's trying to like get out of it by harassing this guy, and it's not working. So he gets out of prison on this $250,000 bond, and he starts telling everybody like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy, I'm gonna fucking get him. And the day before the murder, he's with Caius here and their other friend, and they're telling him like, you'll get him, don't worry about it, don't worry. So they have evidence, they have witnesses that are like, yeah, he was saying loudly, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. You know, but one of the witnesses was like, I didn't take him seriously because he's always pissed off and always saying he's going to kill someone. So this guy is just a fucking dickhead.
That's
right?
Just how he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So September 10th, when he was found, was 8 days before he was supposed to testify. This Mr. David Glasser here. And what they think happened is they went to his house to kill him, and his roommate and friend just both happened to be there. So they got murdered as well because they're witnesses. So it's like wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. Also, we could do like murdered witnesses, because I feel like that's a long.
Oh God, that's a good one.
There's a lot of issues with like this. Also, the cops like abusing the witness thing and like putting people in a lot of danger.
Well, that's the thing is this guy, his family and friends came out and they were like, he asked repeatedly over and over and over, please put me in witness protection, please hide me. And the cops are claiming like we did. And then he'd say, oh, I feel safe, I can go back home. But all of his family and friends were like, that never happened. He was never given any sort of protection. He was not taken seriously. So it was a big scandal after he was found dead.
Yeah.
In any case, so these three were at this Hells Angels party. They got all pissed off. And then in the middle of the night went into the apartment where the two men lived with their friend was there, murdered all of them and dumped them. Right. So here we go. Like, where does the vampirism come in? Right. Because Hall, Chalu, and Veiovis, the three guys, were all charged and convicted in the murders and given 3 life sentences without parole. So all these guys are in prison forever. So here's where the vampirism comes in. Adam Hall is just like a scumbag Hell's Angel. The other guy probably as well. But Mr. Caius Veiovis here has a really interesting and dark past. He was born Roy C. Gutfinsky Jr.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gutfinsky and Roy Gutfinsky, and now he's like, I'm Caius Veiovis.
I'm Caius Veiovis. Like, yeah.
God.
Well, the best part about his name is like reading some of the articles about him. Hilariously, like a lot of them are like, oh, he was like a demon or like the god of blah blah blah. But one person is like, we think he got the name Caius from the vampire in the Twilight series. And I was like, oh God,
oh my God.
So
I feel like it's a douchey vampiric kind of name, right? It's been in movies and stuff.
Stupid. Yeah. But I think the Twilight one got it from like a mythological origin. Yeah. But I love the idea that this guy got it from Twilight. Like, and he's like, that's a cool name. But anyway, but
also the weakest, since we're on Vampire Week, that is the worst. Those are the worst vampires. It goes without saying.
Obviously, they sparkle. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's so stupid.
They're terrible.
Anyway, ridiculous. But anyway, so he was born Roy C. Gutfinsky Jr., and he had a really good childhood. Okay. He was raised by a loving mother and father in Maine. He also had a sister with whom he was very close. He later claimed, he changed his name in 2008, so it definitely could have been Twilighty. He later claimed that he was adopted.
Yeah, that's the right time.
That is exact. That's like Twilight fanaticism craziness was happening. So he said he was adopted, but there's absolutely nothing to support that claim. So I think he was just trying to like make his childhood harder or somehow make himself seem like more evil or put upon or whatever he
give himself a little backstory
does. Yeah, it's like ridiculous. And so he started acting out in ways that I think he thought he was supposed to if he was like claiming that. And at the age of 13, he started really getting in trouble. He was caught with a double-sided assault-style knife at school. He had already started exhibiting really weird behavior, so they then had a neuropsychologist evaluate him. And this person was like, dude, this guy is scary. He's 13, but he's fucking terrifying. He's obsessed with the devil. He's obsessed with devil worship and Satanism, like his idea of Satanism.
Right.
And he's going to be a danger. By 14, he was put into a mental hospital, but was promptly released, just like put back into the public because they couldn't keep him under control and he assaulted a staff member. So instead of being like, let's call the police or you definitely belong here, they were like, you know what? Not our fucking problem. Go back to mom and dad.
Oh, seems kind of counter intuitive there.
Right? A little crazy. So he was then put into a youth center because his parents couldn't control him. And when he was released at 18, he applied for and received disability benefits due to his mental health issues. When he was 19, he was yet again admitted to a psychiatric ward after assaulting his girlfriend and threatening her boss with an axe. At this point, he was still Roy. So he's big, scary Roy.
Just crazy Roy, yeah.
Crazy Roy. And so at this point, he was like really into like the punk rock lifestyle and had like mohawks and piercings and all the weird shit. Which is funny because as time went on, he did some even crazier shit to himself. And we'll talk about that in a sec. But as of right now, we're going to come to the moment we've all been waiting for, the moment of vampirism. So that same year, after he was released once again from a psychiatric ward, he and his girlfriend, I'm not sure it's the same girlfriend, but I'm going to say probably, since like what they're about to do, you probably have to have some level of intimacy just to know the other person would be down for it. They got together and did some weird ass shit.
Okay.
First of all, just to point out their ages, he was 19, she was 17, the victim was 16. So they decided to pick up a 16-year-old girl. I think they offered her drugs and booze and were like, come party with us at our hotel room. She's like, okay, I'm down. From there, they assaulted her, likely held her down, and his 17-year-old girlfriend used a fucking razor blade to cut a 7-inch long gash into the girl's back. Just opened her up. From there, they held her down and made out while drinking the blood on her back. So they're like laying on top of her, like rubbing their faces in her blood, drinking it and tongue kissing. It's like a scene out of like a really bad movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that also there's just a lot of hygiene questions, a lot of like
really gross. It's just really fucking gross.
I feel like diseases could happen. Like,
fuck yeah.
That's not safe.
Yeah. So they did all this weird shit and then they just let her go. Like as if they had done nothing wrong. They're like, have a good night. So she, of course, goes to the fucking hospital where it takes over 30 stitches to close up her wound.
Wow.
And she tells the police. And when they arrest him, he just like openly admits it. He's like, yeah, this was a ritualistic bloodletting and I did it for Satan.
Okay. Just sure. Casual, just another Tuesday.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Got my dentist appointment and then my bloodletting and like
exactly
bloodletting. Yeah.
So Mr. Gutfinski here was arrested yet again. This time he was given a 10-year sentence and he served 7.5 years before being released. And here's the crazy thing. At this point, his name was Roy. At this point, he didn't have any weird body modifications really happening. So he did all this weird vampire shit when he was still kind of
quasi-normal-ish. Normal presenting.
Normal presenting. That's a good way to put it. As soon as he gets out, although they were like, he was a goth. And I'm like, oh no, he was a goth. Like, that's why he did it.
Yeah.
No. So he gets out, changes his name. And this is the point at which he not only tattoos all sorts of weird shit on his face. He has like a 666 on his face, but he has, I can't pinpoint what that like script is on his face. It's like an ancient script. I tried to find it. I've seen it before. But
it's like Viking runes, maybe.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Definitely runes of some sort.
Also, I really deeply hate people misappropriating Viking shit who are just assholes. It's like no.
Stop it. You're the weird thing is it's like from his nose to his ear, like across his face. It's like everything about it is stupid.
It's dumb. I'm Norwegian, so I take Viking stuff very seriously.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's ugly. It's just weird. But the craziest thing he did, which Devo, during one of the planes flying overhead, Devo's like, are we going to talk about the way he looks? I'm like, yes, we are. He put subcutaneous like horns in his head So we actually had them cut his forehead open, stick like horns, like quote unquote. They're rounded. You can't have pointy, or it'll cut your skin open.
What are they made of?
They're like silicone, I believe. And they stick them under your skin, and they pull your skin up and make it a horn. So you guys will see when Diva posts a picture on Instagram that he's got fucking horns.
Look, I don't want to shame anyone's like body modification things because it's fine, but I just feel like this might be like 2 steps too far.
This is a lot. Like, I've actually known people who have these in various doesn't the fucking dude from Prodigy have them? I feel like he does.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It makes me very uncomfortable to look at.
Well, the other thing is like, dude, I understand you really, really want horns, but there's other ways to do it. Like you can get screws embedded in your head and then screw horns on, because right now he looks like a baby lamb who's like just barely getting their fuzzy little horn starting. So it's not really like,
oh my God,
scary so much as it's just like weird.
It cannot be good for you too, like to have a foreign thing in your head like that.
It's like a breast augmentation, you know? Same difference, but those aren't good for you either. So, and yeah, I mean, I've also heard of people getting infections, having them rejected, but this guy's got them up in his head. And so he's just looking real interesting. So it's really weird that like the crazy vampire shit he did was way before he was 31 when he partook in these 3 murders. And at that point he was like, I mean, you can't look like that if you're going to murder people, because they're going to know it's you. It's not like you might be another guy. You know what I mean?
No one is going to say about him, like in the crime special, like, no one expected this guy. It's like, no, everyone expected.
Or like witnesses couldn't remember what he looked like. Like, no, they really fucking could.
Yeah. Everyone expected this.
Everybody and everybody knew, you know, he's like a walking billboard. Like, look, I'm dangerous, you know, and I think that was kind of the point. But what I think is really sad about this story is obviously this is somebody with a lot of mental health issues who's not getting any help. There's a witness who's asking for witness protection who's not getting any help. There's a lot of failures of the system in this story. So that's really sad to me, but it's just wild to me also how often we're like, oh, this person went to prison for a certain number of years for this thing that they did, and then they got back out and murdered someone. And it's like, to me, that's not an argument for keeping people in prison forever. It's an argument for reforming the way that we imprison people. Like if we did it in a way where they actually benefited, but by the time they were released, it would make sense to let people out.
No, we do it because we want them to come back or stay there.
Right. And that's the thing.
The goal.
There's no help given to them. There's no rehabilitation. It's all just, you know. So I thought that was really interesting. But in any case, before he murdered 3 people or helped to murder 3 people, he drank the blood of a 16-year-old in some weird sex ritual in a hotel room in Maine. So,
and he was definitely trying to cultivate the vampire vibes, I think.
He was, and
in
Satan,
life,
vampire and Satan, and I'd like to really think that he was heavily influenced by Twilight. I'm just gonna go with that.
What was his real last name again?
Gutfinsky.
Your name is Roy Gutfinsky, and you love Twilight. Let's just leave it there.
That's the moral of this story.
Yeah.
They're the end of it. Yeah, we'll call it a moral because I'd like to think that we learned something.
That's our takeaway.
Yes, it is. Okay. Anyway, what's your story?
So I am going to take you through an extremely spooky Happy Halloween ride of the story of Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess.
Oh, okay.
And I actually technically did this in a very abbreviated form for like maybe our second ever episode with a killer woman, which is long since down. I barely remember doing it. And but this is so important. And also last year for part 1, I did Vlad Dracula.
Yes.
Who's the OG vampire. And so this is a very nice like pairing, I think.
I love it.
Yeah. And it's historical. We're going back in time. I'm a historian of this time period. It's my job. So I get really excited. And if anyone out there is like, oh, I don't like history, like, what are you doing in your life? You know,
who are you? That's not our listeners.
No, I don't think so.
I would maybe somebody starting listening to us for their first time with this episode, and if you are, oh man, welcome and sorry.
Yeah.
But I think most of our listeners are like down. In fact, we get a lot of mail from people or reviews. In fact, where people are like, we love the like mix of history. Like we get actual historical information as well as like a true crime story. So I think you're doing great.
Well, I'm not in the 16th century every week, but I got to pepper it in here and there. Sure. And I also know a lot about it, so why not?
What you love, you know?
All right, so here we are. It's the 16th century Hungary, which is independent. I actually thought it was part of the Holy Roman Empire, but I'm wrong. Oh, it wasn't. It had kind of a contentious relationship with the HRE.
Okay,
there,
but they were part of Holy Roman at the moment.
No. So Elizabeth,
They were. They weren't. They were, right?
They weren't.
Oh, they weren't.
They were independent.
Oh, you were saying they were independent. Okay, got it.
Kingdom of Hungary.
Okay,
yeah. But they had kind of a contentious thing with the Habsburgs. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I got in a Wikipedia moment on that today.
I love it.
Hungarian history. So Elizabeth Bathory, technically her name in Hungarian is Erzsébet Bathory. So I'm going to call her Erzsébet because I think it's a cooler name.
I like that name.
Than Elizabeth. Yeah.
It's a good one.
So Erzsébet was born to a mega wealthy Transylvanian noble family in the Kingdom of Hungary on August 7th, 1560.
Wow.
So she's a Leo.
Okay.
Tracks.
Yep.
So she was, because she was rich, she was super educated, taught to speak a bunch of languages because that's a thing you could do if you were rich. All the courtly things that ladies could do. Early on in life, apparently people did notice that she would laugh at servants being punished and at executions. That's pretty common at the time, but she went out of her way to be yay, the execution day, woohoo,
people bought tickets to go, right?
Yeah. No, but she went out of her way. If a servant girl was being punished, she's like, this is awesome. I love it.
I think it's interesting in a time like that. If you stand out, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, exactly, because everyone loved violence.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're like, oh, she really likes violence a little too much, that to me is a big red flag.
Yeah. In 1575 at age 15, and I've also heard the year before at age 14, which is disturbing but not uncommon. She was married off.
That makes sense.
to Count Ferenc Nadasdy. I want to say it's Nadasdy.
Okay.
He was a war hero, would become one, and a fellow nobleman from another rich family. You got to go same level.
Okay.
And his wedding gift to her is a whole castle named Choctis.
Okay.
Choctitsa Castle. I'm going to go Choctis because my mouth doesn't want to do that extra syllable. Okay, but it is in contemporary Slovakia, but that country did not exist yet. And it's his family castle, but they have 7 castles, but that's the kind of one where she's going to do most of her action.
Okay. Well, if you have 7 castles, I guess it's not that big of a deal to give one as a gift.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, you can have this one. So Ferenc, her husband, was the leader of the Hungarian army, and they are at war this whole time against the Ottoman Empire, which is kind of their neighbor to the south.
Okay.
And the borders are shifting because they're kind of warring for territory. It's this ongoing thing. So she would manage the various castles and the estate in his absence, which would be years at a time, right? Just see you never, just you just disappear.
That's interesting to be married off when you're 14 and then never see your husband.
Yes.
It's bizarre. All right.
She did see him at some point because they had around 8 kids.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So off and on. And then also, what's his face? Ferenc was notoriously violent and brutal and into violence himself. He's a war commander, but even by war standards, people recognize him as being exceptionally bloodthirsty.
So this is a match made in heaven, honestly.
Yeah, actually it is.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Good for them.
Yeah, they have a happy well, I'll get into it in a second, but they have basically a relationship where they bonded over how much they love violence together, and they were yeah, woo.
But their kids were great.
Yeah. No, I wonder if this family still exists, the Bathory. Maybe they changed their name.
That shit up. Yeah.
It could.
Yeah.
So boop. Yeah, so he's known as the Black Knight of Hungary because he's this notorious brutal warlord. And even though the Kingdom of Hungary was quickly going broke because the war is very expensive to keep waging, the family, the Bathory home, is wealthy as fuck because he keeps bringing home war plunder,
right?
Satchels of gold, and they're okay, we're doing great.
So the country's crumbling around them, but they've got their ivory tower, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, they're among the most powerful people in the country, the kingdom.
Crazy.
So while they were together physically, like I said, Elizabeth or Erzsébet and Ferenc reportedly bonded over how much they love to torture their servants and just general love of violence and cruelty. That's what they're into. In 1604, after they were married for 29 years, I think Erzsébet is 40 something at this time. Her husband dies. Ferenc dies for uncertain reasons, but he had lost the use of his legs the year before, so I think he had a long-standing thing.
Something's going on, yeah.
Yeah. It's the 16th century. You don't make it into your 60s.
Yeah, the fact that he made it as long as he did is pretty good. Especially
people died all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by all accounts, after this, she went extra crazy and murdery. So she's sort of upset because she lost her torture buddy.
Yeah. I could see that being upsetting.
Yeah. She gets really upset and she needs a new hobby to fill the time.
Throws herself into her work. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's true. It's true. So before Ferenc died, he was able to tell a friend of his, Yeah, say Georgi Thurzo, who was the Palatine of Hungary. And yes, I did go on a long Wikipedia rampage trying to find out what a Palatine is. It's basically just a high-ranking official related to a king. He's like a king ambassador.
Okay.
In simple terms. But yeah, I get upset when I don't really understand like a fussy
Yeah, no, I'm the same way.
word.
I'm like, all right, this is gonna take an extra hour, but let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he tells Thurzo, Mr. Thurzo here, that he's entrusting his wife and his kids to him.
Oh.
This high government official. Yeah. So it's like just note that. I think that's weird.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So according to later testimonies of her accomplices, which I'll get into, and other witnesses and servants that were in the castle, here's what Erzsébet is into doing to her servant girls, of which she has hundreds, by the way, between all the different castles, because this is like, it takes a lot of work to man a billion castles.
Right.
Like, you have to have staff.
Right.
So Erzsébet would cut off their fingers, stab them with sewing needles, burn them with hot iron pokers, splash them with cold water, and let them freeze to death in the snow.
Whoa.
She would also beat them and frequently beat them to death. She would also imprison them in a torture chamber and like very haunted as fuck looking kind of alley or what's the word, like cellars underneath the castle. And she used a whole lineup of kind of medieval torture thingies on them, just you name it. She was just like having fun, just having a bonanza of torture.
And nobody noticed that these people were like going missing or dying?
They did.
Oh, they did?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's estimated that she killed at least 80, but also as many as 650 girls. That's the high number we have.
That's a range right there. I feel like that's
a range.
That's a tough number to work
somewhere
with.
in there.
Yeah.
Just a lot.
Yeah.
And like I said, she had hundreds of servants. She also ran a kind of school for the kind of lesser noble ladies to go learn courtly lady etiquette skills from her, because she was like a senior noble lady.
Okay.
And later on, as I'll mention shortly, she will dip into that supply of girls, and that's what will get her in trouble, right? Is killing rich girls.
Okay, because it's finally people who give a fuck.
Yeah, and I'm sure
about.
Yeah, so of course the peasant girls, servant girls' families are like, hey, and everyone's like, shut up, you're poor.
Yeah, nobody cares.
No one cares. So her 4 accomplices were, and like, God help me with these Hungarian names, but I'm going to try. Dorotia Semech, Ilona Joe, Katerina Benica, and Janos Ujvari, who went by Ibis or Fico.
Weird.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the list I got off Wikipedia. So a very fantastical and widely popularized part of this legend, of course, is that Erzsébet believed in bathing in the blood of virgin girls as a part of like her skincare regime, right? Trying to firm the skin, trying to like steal their youth, right?
Right.
Sadly, I almost feel that it's sad, but sadly this probably didn't happen. As cool as it sounds, as like good of a story as it makes, it probably did not happen. However, I want to say that it's fascinating. Okay, we don't know that it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, it is fascinating to me, and I just realized this today, that it's like very closely related to iconography around witchcraft in the period, because it was thought that witches, in their Sabbath or in the fucking woods would all go and kill babies and drink their blood.
Oh.
So, or like you drink the blood of virgins, or like, I feel like it's right in line with what people thought of, feared about witches.
Well, what's funny, because now you can go to like skincare centers and get a vampire facial.
Oh,
with
blood.
Yeah, there's a really loud plane, but I'm just going to talk through it. No, I can't. It's too loud. Hold on. Yeah, so what they do is they actually extract blood from your own body and then put it like on your face. But I don't know if they like.
I mean, you wouldn't want someone else's blood.
Well, right. But I don't know if they like poke holes in your face or what. I've just seen it like advertised like on Instagram and shit. And I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, what is this?
What are we doing, guys?
Yeah. Some Erzsébet Bathory shit. So anyway.
Yeah, Erzsébet. Yeah. So I don't know. The blood facial thing, it's fun. I mean, obviously it's gruesome, but also, again, it makes for a very, fantastical horror story.
Right.
And I will say there's a couple horror movie scenes that reference or like kind of recreate this. And there's a great scene in Hostel 2, which is a favorite of mine that is, I think a direct callback to Erzsébet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah. I hate those movies.
Yeah, I love them. Hostel 2 is the best.
Ugh.
Hostel 1 sucks. Hostel 2 is
okay, Hostel 1 was bad, right? It's not just me.
No, Hostel 2 is fantastic.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I love horror movies. Woo, Halloween. Okay. So again, like I said, she got caught because she ran out of peasant girls or whatever,
what have you,
and started killing these upper class girls who their families had more pull. And so when they start complaining, people were like, oh shit, you're slightly rich. Oh no.
Yeah, we better give a fuck about you.
Yeah. In 1610, Mr. Thurzo here has kind of turned investigator, and because these rumors are circulating, and these families, rich families, probably are complaining.
Yeah.
And so the king of Hungary charges him with like, hey, can you check all this shit out? So he looks into Ursabet, and together with 2 notaries, he eventually collects over 300 witness statements.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, and they actually ahead of time. Sorry about this, a little out of order. Oh, so they determined, in fact, based off these witness reports, yeah, she murdered like hundreds of people. But because her family is so mega rich and powerful, he literally goes to her other family members on the side and makes a deal with them before arresting her to just imprison her and like not put them through a trial.
Okay.
Like he's just gonna take her right into a cell.
And that's it.
That's it.
So the family doesn't have to be embarrassed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Count Thurzo goes to do the arrest, and this is all kind of legend-ish.
Okay.
He writes it. There's an archival document, like you can see it. He writes this down. So like this is what he says happened. When he arrived at the castle, he found a dead girl, just like dead, and then a girl who was imprisoned, like in a cell, and then another girl who was like half dead and covered in blood and torture wounds.
Wow. Okay.
So she was like in the middle of some action. In like some really fantastical versions of it, she's covered in blood, like mid torture. Right.
Of course.
But he does claim that he saw like victims.
Okay.
But people doubt what he writes because this still alive but half tortured girl doesn't testify at the later hearings.
Okay. Maybe
there's reasons that was. I don't know, but she kind of disappears.
Maybe she was terrified, just wanted to get the fuck away.
Yeah. That's true. So they. Like I said, she murdered a fuck ton of people. After Ursabet's captured, she does try to say, well, those any dead people or any murders were just my accomplices. She tries to pivot on them. Those poor people, it was them.
She could also say like they died from like any number of diseases or accidents or, there's lots of things that could have happened.
Yeah, so the 4 accomplices, yeah, exactly. And it's all people have also said. I'll talk about the Ursabet Bathory defenders here in a second.
I love that she has them.
She does. Yeah. So, but one thing is that there's no thing in the report of like the girl's account. Like he didn't stop and be like, hey, what happened to you?
Right.
But I also don't think people cared what poor girls had to say.
Right. No.
So maybe that explains it.
Yeah, they're like, we don't need to know. Like, fuck off. Yeah.
You're injured. That's it.
Yeah.
So her 4 accomplices were tried, however, and from their trials, we get a lot of detailed testimony about all these gory details. I couldn't find too much solid info, but I think there were also bodies excavated from the castle site that had like torture wounds or whatever to kind of corroborate things.
Yeah.
So all 4 are given death sentences. Oh, no, sorry. One of them wasn't. One of them was spared, I think.
Oh.
But then because she was like kind of...
She must have money or something.
Abuse. No, I think she was a victim of abuse by Ursabet as well, or kind of bullied into it. So that kind of came out.
Okay.
But there's 3 that were given death sentences. And as was tradition in the time, they were tortured brutally to death because they're poor. So
that's insane. I did not know that was like the custom.
Oh, fucking all the time. So Ilona and Dorothea, for example, both had their fingers ripped out with hot pincers and then were burned alive.
Jesus.
16th century, baby.
Baby.
This is all the time. Every day. It's a Tuesday in the 16th century.
Oh my God. Like literally.
Shit was brutal.
Probably.
Yeah, this is why I hate when people talk about like the Renaissance and like the Enlightenment. And I'm like, no. This was not a great time.
No.
Things were weird.
That's wild.
Yeah. So because Ursabet is such a rich lady, she does not get her fingers ripped out. She instead gets the privilege of getting house arrest as her punishment, castle arrest.
She has to stay in her big giant fucking castle.
Correct.
So what changed really for her?
Chaktis castle. And in some versions of the story, and I think one of the movies, she's walled in, which would be much more horrific. And that was a real punishment. People were walled in. However, it was not walled in. It was a chill ass house arrest. She just had guards standing outside to make sure she couldn't go anywhere. It was basically like March 2020.
Right.
Like, but except she had a castle.
Treatment. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have fared better in March 2020 through like the end of 2020 had I had a castle.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Did she have servants still?
Yeah, I think so.
That's insane. So they're like, well, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
She can't go
I
to
think
the
so.
grocery store.
Or maybe she was alone. I don't know. I think she
I
must have had
wonder.
servants. Like when you're a rich lady in this time period, you can't not have servants.
Yeah,
Like your
who's
brain
gonna
would
fucking
break.
who's gonna clean the house? Who's gonna make you dinner?
Who's gonna do shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can't like lift your own napkin or
Yeah.
whatever if you're a noble lady. So I guess here's okay. 1614. So like 4 years after her arrest, she tells one of her guards that her hands are cold. She's like, the guard's like, fucking go to sleep. I don't know. And then basically the next day she's found dead. We don't really know why she died, but maybe just because she was so sad to not be able to torture servant girls anymore.
She died of a broken heart.
Yeah. So that's Ursabet. Her body, by the way, is most likely is missing in a very spooky way. This is one of the spookiest parts. So it was given a grave, and then supposedly it was taken out and put in the Bathory family crypt because people didn't want her to have like a grave marker. But in 1995, when the Bathory family crypt was opened up and like testing was done, her body was not there.
So we don't know where she is.
Ooh. Yeah. I did see one thing that said it was like in the church area of the castle, like super deep underneath, which is also very spooky.
Yes, it is.
So, okay, here's the defenders of Ursabet. Some historians have debated the degree to which this could have been a quote unquote witch hunt, like in the real sense, not like how Republicans use it now.
Right, but like a literal hunt for a literal witch that they think was her.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Because her family was super powerful and politically influential. There are potential motives for wanting to take her down, right?
Right.
This is, shame the family. And also this is a time when a powerful woman is going to be resented, a single lady, essentially. Some of the witnesses and key investigators and key figures have connections to Thurza, who's also super powerful. And they stood to gain financially from taking her down, according to some sources, although I'm not totally sure how. On a National Geographic little mini special I watched, a Hungarian archivist who studied the case actually just openly argues for her innocence. A couple of them do.
That's crazy.
And he says it was a case. Yeah, he says it was a case of like local gossip that got out of hand, and Thurzo basically sees the opportunity to take out a powerful rival and lady. He also points out, and this is a pretty good point in her defense, that the testimony of the accomplices at the trial was procured through torture.
Well, right. I mean,
which it all was.
Yeah. So
there's absolutely no. This is a fun fact, actually. Women and like poor people were not to be trusted, so you had to be tortured, or else you're not going to testify.
That's insane. So like they wouldn't just ask you; they would just start with torture.
No, you have to be tortured, and it was thought that if you were tortured and said a thing, it was true,
and that's
which is the opposite of
like how
the truth. But yeah, but the torture and pain you endured gave your words credibility.
That's so smart. Let me tell you.
Yeah. And it was kind of like we want you to say what we want you to say, but we also want to torture you.
Yeah. And then we can say that we did it because now we can say those are your words. That's so fucking backwards. Yes. Jesus Christ.
So the accomplice's testimony is obviously not like totally to be trusted.
No.
So so I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I haven't found like super compelling evidence that she's innocent. And to me, I can't get around like the other 300 witnesses, like just to give a statement, and they weren't under pain of torture. I also feel like a rich lady would be able to get away with this.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. And I also don't think there was that great a benefit because the family just continued.
Right.
They got her estates. It only took down her.
Right. So it didn't really take down her family.
No. So I kind of think she did it.
It's more fun to think she did it. I mean, it's terrible, but like in terms of like historical lore, it's an interesting story.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like we got Vlad Dracula down the way. Like it's a vampire Rick area, right? Sorry, Hungary. No, Hungary's awesome. But it's just I don't know. I kind of feel like she did it. Not just because it's fun, but I kind of checks out.
Okay. I believe you. You know more about it than I do, so I'm with you.
I don't know. I mean, it's the historical record, obviously, in this time period is like shoddy no matter what. So you can use the witness statements either way. Like, and the way trials worked was totally different. Obviously, they're torturing people, like I just said.
Yeah.
But like I want to know more about like other witness reports. Like I don't speak Hungarian, but I want to get my hands on that archival material and like what did they say? I'm
pretty sure I know a Hungarian, so we could always ask her.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Let's go fly out to Budapest.
No, she's here. She lives in LA, man.
No, I know, but we're gonna fly her out so she can read the archival documents.
Oh, they're not online. Got it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
should be. What
Or
the fuck?
maybe they are. I don't know.
Get
Maybe
it.
they're digitized.
If we can find them, Anessa, I'm coming for you. You got to help us out.
But they're also like old handwritings.
Oh,
bullshit to read though.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. That'd be fun.
So just a few final notes here on the kind of lore around her. You can still visit the ruins of her castle today, which are very spooky and a large, they're ruins, but a lot of it's like, you can tell like what parts were what. To stay there as a tourist tip, you'd have to stay in Trensin.
Okay.
And travel about an hour, 20 minutes by train. It is only open May through October. Probably gets cold.
Yeah.
And Chaktis, which is now, like I said, Slovakia, is a huge Ursabet Bathory like tourist center. Like they have a big statue of her in the village square, which might be the only statue of a serial killer that's just like out and about.
No,
like, can you imagine a Jeffrey Dahmer statue?
Right, but like there's a million of them in America. They're just like war heroes or like colonels or whatever the fuck.
But this is like serial killer
who's like really only known for that.
Yeah, like and she did it in like an unofficial. She did it in like a casual way, not a governmental way.
Right. It's not. She's not like. There's no like reasoning behind it. Like, just a serial killer. So yeah, that's true.
So there's a statue of her in the village square, and also part of the castle grounds now has a winery on it, and they have a Bathory blood wine.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I mean, I would honestly love to go to Romania and Slovakia. Like it's gorgeous, and like I'm obsessed with Google traveling there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there in Google.
It's gorgeous. And also it's on the murder map. If you have, there's a link to it on our Patreon, and it is a very well documented like 3D walkthrough site, so you can kind of check it out.
That's so cool.
It's very spooky.
Yeah.
And also YouTube they have some great like walkthroughs where they actually explain like here's the torture dungeon, here's the thing,
That's
and they like walk you through it. So lastly, this is huge in lore. There's been like books and songs and fucking you name it about the Blood Countess. I just want to mention the films because I love movies and horror movies. In 2008, there was a Slovak directed English language film called Bathory, Countess of Blood, which I watched the trailer today and I was like dying laughing. It looks so fucking cheesy.
Oh my god.
And very glamorizing her.
Oh, lovely.
And it was sponsored by both the Czech and Slovak Ministries of Culture.
Oh my god.
Which blows my mind. Like I'm still digesting that.
They're like, this is our culture here. Like,
this is our culture. This like blood drinking fucking like crazy lady.
That's wild.
And then in 2009, there was a French/German movie called The Countess that came out, which I have seen a while ago, and it's a better like movie, I assume. Like it's a pretty decent movie, but it's kind of like I didn't like it because it was a slow drama and it's not that violent, and it's very sympathetic to her. And it's like
you're not sympathetic to her at all, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think she did it after like really sitting with this. I kind of think like this is legit.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not as extreme as it all came out, but she killed some people.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, all right.
I think I don't know. I could be wrong, but here's what I wanted to say about the movies. 2 points. First of all, I think there should be 2 movies about her made. One that fully plays out the scenario that she's innocent, because that would be fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
This woman just taken down out of nowhere. Secondly, there should be one that's a like super violent horror movie where she did everything they said and drinks the blood. Like because that would be a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are they doing like period? Shut up. Why are they doing like these period piece dramas about the fucking Blood Countess? Make it bloody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why make it like
so?
Why make it boring? Like the whole point of the story is that the sensational murders.
Yeah.
And then to remove that, it's like, what?
So I would like to see both takes on it, like both versions for fairness. And final note, this is totally separate and aside, but I have to say it because it could get off my chest because it's hurting me. On the 4,000 YouTube videos, which I watched many of about Ursabet, they have so many fucking random portraits of other women that are not Ursabet. There is one, if maybe 2 portraits of her, or like copies of portraits that are legitimate. And they're showing portraits of Elizabeth I. They're showing portraits of like a Borgia, like Italian noble lady, and it makes me fucking insane. I'm like,
wild.
Okay, sorry. As an art historian, it makes me insane. You can't just throw up images of some random noble lady who's a real person and then be like, talk about Elizabeth Bathory. Like, you can't.
No, that's not cool at all.
Because then you're giving people the impression that Elizabeth I drank people's blood. Like, which she did do some fucked up colonial shit. She did.
She might have. We don't know.
I mean, Actually, if anyone was gonna take some blood of virgins and put on her face, it might have been
Yeah,
her.
so I feel like that's actually an okay
I
fuck
don't-
up in a way.
A queen would be more likely to do it. But yeah, I just had to say that because it was making, when they do like the slow flash of like different images through those dumb videos.
Yeah.
And I get that there's a shortage of, images with this case or with this person.
Yeah.
But like find a cartoon vampire, find like a fantasy version or something. Like don't bring in random other.
So you guys are
women.
on our Instagram, you're gonna get a picture that's actually her, or a portrait, because there's no pictures, but you're gonna get a portrait of her.
There is a legit portrait. Yeah.
And so you'll see that. You get the real deal on our Instagram. We don't fuck around here at Twisted Listers.
I mean, I don't want to be reverent to the British monarchy, and Elizabeth I did some fucked up colonial shit, but like we shouldn't be inaccurate and say that she drank blood.
Right. Well, we just shouldn't call her Elizabeth Bathory because she's not her. Like, it's just a simple fact. So
yeah, it just makes me crazy.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, there we are. There's our 2 parts, or our 2 stories for our first half.
Mm-hmm.
We hope you guys enjoy this. I don't have anything else to say. Life has been
happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. If this comes out a day late, it's because I've been like sick and like not sleeping and work in October. October is like a marathon month. Like you just work when you wake up at 6 a.m. and then you work until like 7 p.m. And you just do that every day. And so I apologize if it's a little late. I'll get it.
Vampires coming to you hot and ready.
Yeah.
Get some tomato soup, get some red wine.
Get ready. Get ready. Yeah.
For part 2.
Yeah, get ready, guys.
Oh, I was going to ask you, do you have a favorite vampire movie to recommend if someone's really feeling it?
Let Me In. Oh, wait.
Oh, Let the Right One In.
Is it Let the Right One In is the original?
Oh, yeah, there's 2. Yeah, I think I haven't even seen that.
Are you fucking kidding
Isn't
me?
that crazy? No, I'm going to watch it this week.
Okay, yeah, I was like, don't Exorcist, no. You need to watch Let Me In like right fucking now. It's the goddamn but I want to say I always get them. Yeah, Let Me In is, I think, yeah, that's the American version. Fuck that one. Watch Let the Right One In.
What is it, like Danish, Swedish or something?
Yeah, it's a 2008 film and it's from, I forget where, but yeah, it's like Danish or something.
I will watch it.
It's Swedish and it's fucking amazing and everybody go watch it. It's an incredible film. The American version's fine, but why watch a watered down version of?
No, never watch the American
version. Put the
version.
subtitles on and fucking roll with it. It's great.
I will strongly recommend all of the Underworld movies because I love early 2000s trash.
Hell yeah.
I love
that Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, with the pleather and the new metal, and it's so good.
Female
it's
Blade
so good.
Almost. I love it. Anyway.
Yeah, they're really good. And some of them, like the later Underworlds, get really dumb.
Nice. Love that.
So I recommend it. No.
Let the Right One In is like Criterion Collection level. It's so fucking massive.
Yeah, no, I think we picked a good balance because Underworld is like garbage.
Yes.
So
and the other
fun
Perfect.
garbage.
If you guys want to be pretentious movie snobs, watch the one I suggest. If you want to like keep it real, go with Diva Suggestion. All right, and no matter what you pick, be sure to
stay
far